But since this map isn't seasons prepared, hay will store so long as it's not loose. So the loose hay, loose grass will start rotting, and so will the straw. Although hay and straw only rots when it's raining, and we don't have any risk of that right now. But bales don't, even if they're left out on the field. Grass bales do. That grass bale's a problem. It's not going to be a 4,000 litre silage bale when I get done with it. Alternatively, I could just collect it and go and dump it in the cow pasture and not bother waiting to wrap it. Now, Farm Sim 19 works a little bit differently. As far as the values of baled crop is concerned, grass is valueless, hay bales you can sell, silage bales and silage loose you can sell, straw bales you can sell. Hay and straw isn't worth much, but it is worth something. So it's sort of, you can sell it if you want to, and it's a good way to make money if you don't have all the wrapping gear and everything else. I need to slow this down. Let's go 7. Help the wrapper, because he's having problems. Oh, he managed it. Bump it up to 8 then. Maybe. But the difference with Farm Sim 19 is you can't make instant hay. If you cut grass and it looks like the grass I'm cutting, i.e. it's dark green, that's classed as wet grass and will never dry, and after midnight will begin to rot. So you need to ted wet grass. If the grass looks like in-game hay, then that's considered to be dry grass. You don't have to ted it, and dry grass you just have to wait until it completely dries out to become hay, which is a shade of sort of yellow green between what straw looks like and what normal hay looks like. Now, the drying potential is based on the weather. So the weather right now for me, it's 14 degrees Celsius and sunny. So dry grass in Farm Sim 19 would dry quite quickly under these conditions, possibly as short as 4 hours. So if you want to make silage, you need to be doing what I'm doing here, which is to have the bale and the wrapper running in as a train, so that you don't miss out on wrapping. The problem I found in Farm Sim 19, even on a map as small as Old Stream Farm, was you can cut the grass and then you go around and windrow it and then you bale it, but before you get to the end of the field, half your bales are turning into straw, or sorry, into hay, or before you get the wrapper there. Yeah, you can end up with half your fields already hay, so you can't wrap it now, but the stuff that's still dry grass you can wrap. If you use the in-game hayloft, you can keep loose straw and hay forever, and I also proved that on Farm Sim 19 with the Old Stream Farm. The on-farm silo will store loose hay, straw and grass. I put grass in it, and I've got as much grass in it now as I had when I put it in there. So buildings, unless they talk to seasons in some way, you're pretty safe. You won't lose any of the hay or the straw. But all grass for that matter. So you could store grass indefinitely in a building that allows you to keep grass. I believe for Farm Sim 19, what was it? The Mercury Farms building pack, which was released as a separate mod, does allow you to store everything, even root crops, which is nice. So if you want to store potatoes or sugar beets, you can store that in the Mercury Farms farm silo. But yeah, the stuff stored in those doesn't rot regardless, because seasons can't see it. Anything that's left out, for want of a better word, out in the open, seasons can see it and will affect it. So something like a machinery shed, or any placeable building. I've probably got placeable buildings here somewhere. So something like that, if you put hay or straw in it, it's safe because it's under the shelter. Potentially even that is good. But grass bales in there will rot. Anything loose in there on a season's prepared map should also survive. But this thing, you're putting up to 250,000 litres of hay or straw can be stored in this, and seasons can't see it. That's a regular extension, that's a regular silo extension. These things here, you can store bales in them and they'll store forever. So that's how to Red Dirt Ranch. Oh, that's a problem as well. I didn't realise that was an issue, but I can see that happening. I haven't done much in Farm Sim 19 with grass products. Predominantly I was concentrating on it with the Old Stream Farm, because I knew the silo could store loose hay grass and straw and silage, maybe even TMR, I can't remember, but it could store them all. So I was intentionally not using a baler on that, and I would have a single mower and a loading wagon on the back, and I could get away with that because I was only using a small T6. 175 horsepower was barely enough to haul most of my equipment, so it wasn't a problem for me there. Now if I'm doing, say on this map, were it available in Farm Sim 19, doing grass, doing a mower with even a windrower, and then hauling a loading wagon behind it. So having this set up with a loading wagon, potentially yes, you could end up with straw in the back. That's why I generally, for farms this size, I'm going to be running a mowing train, because it's the only way to keep things close enough that it's not going to be a problem. I think as soon as I've finished this first pass, what I'll try and do, I'll shut the mowing train down, I'll get the hurlem off and wrap the bales that got missed, because they're going to be degrading, and it would be nice if I could get as many as full capacity as possible. That's the problem. Grass decays immediately. In Farm Sim 17, they put in a delay, so you have to wait till the first midnight before it starts decaying. And the reason they did that was because of the whole drying out grass to turn it into hay mechanism. And you could, it would be a little bit mean to say, you've just cut your grass, now you've got to go out and ted it or let it dry, and all the while it's drying, it's disappearing as well. So you cut 100,000 litres of grass and you end up with 50,000 litres of hay. that would be kind of tough. So they put in a proviso of you've got to wait until midnight before the grass will actually start decaying. So you've got a chance for it to turn into hay. But the original release of Seasons on 19, they messed it up a bit, and loose grass wouldn't decay, but as soon as you put in a bale, it immediately started decaying. So you had to bale and wrap immediately, and when Follow Me wasn't available, you needed a friend, or you had to use the Kun combo bale wrapper to end up with 4,000 litre silage bales coming out. Grass is not affected by rain. Grass just decays. I'm not sure about how hay works. Not hay. Dry grass also doesn't rot when it's raining, but it turns wet. So if you cut some grass that's dry and then it rains, you pretty much got to run out there with a tedder and ted it so that it's dry grass again, and you can wait for it to dry off. The problem is if it's just rained, then it's probably going to take longer to dry off because it's probably going to be cloudy, the temperatures are going to be lower, and so it's going to be 8 to 12 hours before it dries out, as opposed to 4 hours on a bright, windy, hot, sunny day. So that's all sorts of things you have to keep in mind when you're doing hay and grass in 19. So I think I can get all the way up to the top and do a tight 180 there to come back down and finish off this field. But yeah, Seasons Prepared mat, always keep it under cover, even if it's loose. I mean, if you cut and allow to dry some hay, then there should be no problem with you. I wonder if I'm too far over. There should be no problem collecting the hay in a loading wagon, and so long as you put the loading wagon in a barn, it should sit there forever. But yeah, once grass turns to hay, as soon as it starts raining on it, you need to get it off the field immediately. I ran into that on the Old Stream Farm as well, where I'd cut the grass and it had come out as dry grass, and I let it dry, and only about half the field dried out to hay. So I left it overnight because the hay's not going to be affected unless it rains. And the problem that I encountered was okay, we'll pull off the end here, keep going for now, and then we'll shut all this down. We have missed a lot of bales. That's not good. What do I want to do? Okay. There we go. So I can turn that engine off. Exit. And I will try and pick up my train of thought in a minute. So we're going to pull forwards. We are going to turn that off. We're going to drop the extra rail out the back. And then we'll turn that off. It didn't decay. Hay, right, hay only decays when it's raining, so you can leave it, if you have 5 straight days of sunshine, you can leave hay out on the field and nothing will happen to it, but as soon as rain starts hitting it, it goes away. And as soon as the rain stops hitting it, it will unload. Please unload. Why aren't you unloading? Oh, you did. Mashing away at the unload button. Why aren't you unloading? Well, because you're already unloaded. Okay. That's good. And the same with straw. Straw you can leave out on the field and nothing will happen to it until it starts raining. So if you're harvesting a bunch of fields, go right ahead and harvest all of them and bring the baler out tomorrow, or the collection wagon out tomorrow, and you can bring the baler out tomorrow to bale them all up, or collection wagon, or whatever you want to use. No problems. But if it rains overnight, you just lost your hay or your straw. So you've got to be careful. Stuff will go away if you leave it. But grass just sits there until midnight, and once you hit midnight, now your grass is going to disappear. And you better be getting to it as quickly as you can, because if you don't, then you're going to have less grass than you cut. And it doesn't matter if it rains, snows, whatever, the grass will decay. Once it starts decaying, that's it. It's on its way out. Okay, we'll drop that there. I think I'll go this way. There's a whole ton of bales over here that are a problem. That's still 4,000. That's good. So we haven't hit decay point on these yet. I'm going to guess the one behind me is also good. But yeah, if I carried on this field, these grass bales would be 3,980 or lower before I get them wrapped. So I kind of want them wrapped as soon as I can do it. And as I was saying, on Farm Sim 19, when they first released seasons, grass bales did decay immediately. No midnight grace period. It was, they're bales now, so they're going to rot. And that was kind of a problem when you were trying to make silage and bring your wrapper around later. You kept it loose in a loading wagon or whatever, that was fine. But a recent update to seasons, or quite an old update to seasons now, they did modify that so that grass bales obey the same rules as grass. So you back up a bit. Oops. So now grass bales in seasons don't decay immediately either. So you don't actually have to run a mowing train like this in Farm Sim 19, because the grass bales will survive until midnight at least. So you've got all the time in the world to bale it, wrap it, whatever else you want to do. that bale under a bale. Yeah. I might need to go and get the other axe in, so I can haul these bales off the field. But yeah, so even doing baling contracts with seasons on Farm Sim 19, you've really got to be careful. I've done a few, and they're all silage contracts. They don't. I haven't. Well, at least I haven't come across a hay contract in Farm Sim 19. And I think the reason they've done that is because it can be anywhere from 4 to 12 hours from you cutting before the hay's ready. And that's a long time to be just sitting around twiddling your thumbs in seasons, not being able to do any more contracts because you can only do one at a time unless you're running the mod that lets you run more. And so basically what they've said is, no hay contracts, because it's unfair to tie you up on a contract for 12 hours before you can complete it. And with silage contracts, because silage takes one season, I can't remember what they called it. Basically, it was 1/3 of a season. So early, if I'm cutting these late spring, day 6 late spring, and it's 12:30, so it's going to be day 2 early summer before these bales are actually silage, and until that time they're just treated as wrapped grass. And so that's kind of a problem for baling contracts, and one I raised when I heard how it was going, how silage was going to happen. It's sort of, well, how do I do a silage? How do I do a baling contract? Because obviously these bales are all wrapped, but they're not silage. And Realismus basically said, well, what we're actually doing is, if it's a wrapped bale, it's that counts for completing the contract. But be careful, because there's always bales left over when you finish a baling contract, and if you try and sell those, all they are is wrapped grass, so they're worthless. If you want the bonus, you have to take the bales back to your yard, wait for a third of a season before you can take them down to the store and sell them for money. But you can complete the contract immediately. So, I've had contracts that I've ended up delivering 30 bales of wrapped grass, and you get paid for completing the contract. I got 5 bales left over. So when I take the last load to the sell point, that's not going to fit down there. When I take the last load to the sell point, what I'll do is, I can fit through there. I'm sure I can fit through there. Just. yeah, when I take the last load down to the barn to sell, I will unload the trailer and then push them in one at a time, so that as soon as the contract's complete, I can say, okay, complete contract, load the rest of the bales back on the wagon and take them back to my yard and unload them there so that they can brew to silage. Oh. Hello Mola and welcome to the stream. This is Farm Sim 17 Lawfolds. The map was produced very soon after Farm Sim 17 came out. So it's a very old map, available in the mod hub. And one I've enjoyed playing. I now have 601 hours playing this map. Although not all of them have been streamed, because I've only been streaming for just over a year. And that's why this tractor has 143 hours on it. Which, when you consider 600 hours of playtime, 143 is actually not that bad. Of course, wrapped bales, I should not be using this loading wagon to pick up wrapped bales, because you'll just tear the wrapping. And then you end up with all sorts of problems. That's why for Farm Sim 19 I like the Anderson X tractors, because what you do is you grab the bales off the field as grass, take them back to the yard and wrap them in rows there. I'm doing 7, 8. Of course I could do with a bumper weight here as well. Is that close enough? That is close enough. Yay. Okay. Collect the rest from up here. And that's why I'm using this tractor, because this gets very heavy with 16 bales. It was this one or the Zerian. Okay. Now this field is actually one of the starting arable fields for the map. Because I knew I was going to go sheep quite quickly, I turned this one into grass almost immediately. Since it was seasons, yeah, no, it was pretty much immediately. So, shut that off. Oh yeah. We'll stack these on the side of the field to brew. And unload and reset. And the lift and reset mechanism does draw a lot of power. Got my foot to the floor, we're hardly moving. You're probably not supposed to until you're ready. Right, there we go. Lower the pickup and let's get back on. Oops. Yeah, that wasn't good. close enough. Oh, that's interesting. The wheels aren't defined objects. And that field of canola there starts out as 4 fields, which I ploughed together in the first year. Just to maximise the harvest area. I mean, it limits me on how much. Yeah, I could put 4 crops on 4 fields, but instead I can only fit 1 crop on 1 big field. Also doesn't play well with helpers because it's got too many sort of interior turns in it. Didn't reset in time. Okay, grab that one. That one over there, and the load is getting a bit too heavy. I think this tractor's a 380 horsepower and even so struggles with fully loaded equipment. This piece of equipment is very heavy when loaded. Because I'm playing with the realistic fuel mod, the tractor does have an essence of power usage. You can see power usage inside the speedometer. So when I accelerate hard, there's a big boost of power requirements. There's